Hello everybody and welcome back to Typical City. Manchester City 5, Fulham 1, a clear victory after the second half performance. The first half performance a little bit sloppy, and I did want to get into the player ratings, see who performed well, who less so. There weren't that many tragic performances, but that first half performance in particular was just a little bit disjointed. Second half, it all came together, everything connected, and the cohesiveness within midfield was there for all to see. And the clinical, that's the key word we need to take away from yesterday's game, clinical nature of Erling Haaland and Julian Alvarez was more than enough for us to get the 3 points. Deserved 3 points. Not too sure we deserved 5 goals. Even Juan Marlilo suggested that the first half certainly didn't deserve a 5-1 result. And even the second half, maybe even a little bit flattering. But you take them, don't you? As City fans, you take them, because against Sheffield United, that was probably a 4, maybe 5-1 performance. But we only won the game 2-1, so swings and roundabouts. Let's get started with Edison. Edison had very little to do. Very little to do in terms of actual picking the ball out of his net. That's about it, really. Until you look at those stats, 0, 0, 0, 0, everything. A bit of distribution that's worth pointing out, 88.4%. Good, that's what you want. But in terms of the shots on target, which Fulham got 3, 1 was a goal, 2 were blocked. Neither saved by Edison. So, yeah, very little to do, giving him a 6.5. On to Kyle Walker. I think his performance in the first half was one of the key sloppy performers. Him and Rodri, I think, were sloppy in the first half, but I think in the second half he found his feet. He kept things basic. He stopped doing silly things. A couple of moments where Robinson was trying to burst down the left-hand side of the pitch for Fulham on the counter-attack, as well as the Cordova Reed as well. He was offering the occasional threat on the counter-attack, and Kyle Walker nullified those threats. 81.6%, I think that highlights the sloppiness. I think in the first half that a lot of those percentage drops that you see in there, I think that's going to be, you'll find them misplaced passes in the first half. No key passes, 1 tackle, 0 interceptions, and a clearance as well. But yeah, no, I think it was a reasonable performance from Kyle Walker. Overall, 6.5. I think he can do better, but, wasn't that bad. Ruben Diaz, I think defensively, he's becoming our rock, isn't he? He always has been our rock, but I mean, even more so. I think last season, we looked at Ruben Diaz, the start of last season, prior to the World Cup, during the Christmas break. Ruben Diaz was a little bit missing. I think his performances were maybe a little bit one eye on the Portugal squad, looking out for his own interests and getting into that, making sure he doesn't pick up an injury. This start of the season, he looks totally different player, 100% committed. The stats are there for all to see. Look at that, 99% passing accuracy, and that's with 114 touches. So a lot of the balls actually, his distribution's getting better and better. I imagine a lot of those were simple sideways passes, of course, but and that's probably suggested there with 0 key passes. But defensively, there you go, 4 tackles, 2 interceptions, and a clearance. So I've given Ruben Diaz a 7.5, and I think that's reasonable. I was bordering on 8, but I've gone with 7.5. Manuel Akanji, I think he was just a little touch. I think he was asked to do a difficult job yesterday. In the first half, again, I'm going to keep referencing the first half because it was a game of 2 halves performance-wise. Maybe not narratively in terms of the story that played out. I think the stats probably stayed reasonably the same across the 2 halves. But in terms of who played well and the formation changes, in particular from first half to second half, Akanji was playing in midfield a lot of the times and asked to push forward when we did have the ball. I'm still not been convinced by that role. I'm not sure why we keep persisting with Akanji moving forward into midfield. Should we need to put a body in that middle? Because Foden was out on the right. The change in the second half gave us much more control, where we pulled Foden off the right wing, brought him into the middle, and allowed Kyle Walker to roam down that right-hand side of the pitch. And therefore, Akanji don't go forward anymore because we've got Rodri, Kovacic, Alvarez and Foden occupying the middle of the park, and Akanji was asked to just defend. And that's where I feel more comfortable. I don't know about you guys. Get in the comments below if you think differently, if you're happy to see Akanji push into midfield. Personally, I prefer him not doing that. I don't think he's bad on the ball. I just think that's probably not his game. And out of all of our defenders, you're going to ask Akanji to do it. I'd pick Ake ahead of him. Obviously, John Stones, when he's fit, he's definitely the one who'd go ahead of Akanji. I'd even say Gvardiol can push forward and be a little bit more trustworthy on the ball. But 92.4% passing accuracy is pretty good. 0 key passes. He couldn't really affect the game offensively. But defensively, brilliant. Look at that. 2 tackles, 1 interception, 2 clearances, and no block shots. So I've given him a 7. Just a little bit below Ruben Diaz, but not by much. Ake, same again, really. I think that passing accuracy, we've seen him in the 90s for the last all 3 games so far into the season. He's been playing as a centre-back. This time asked to play left-back with no Gvardiol playing, and therefore you're asked to do a little bit more forward passes rather than sideways passes, and that's reflected in the passing accuracy you can see there with 85.7% with 102 touches to his name, 0 key passes. But again, defensively, just what you want, dealing with Jimenez and the fact that Traore came on as well, which is a nightmare substitution to bring on when you're tired. Last 15 minutes of the game and Adama Traore came on. He managed him really well down that left-hand side. So I've given him a 7 as well with the 2 tackles, 1 interception and a clearance. So pretty good from Nathan Ake. But not as good as his previous performances, but still good. Kovacic, I think this is, it's not a bad performance, but it was comparative to his previous 3 games at City where he shone much brighter, in the Burnley game and the Newcastle game and the Sheffield United game. Everything seemed totally controlled with Kovacic. I just don't think he had that much involvement. There you go, yeah. Involvement was the word I was about to say. And there you go, 59 touches. He was getting into the hundreds in previous games. So he didn't really get involved as much in the game. I think it was going on around him a little bit, and that's just circumstantial. Sometimes that can happen. You can just have one of those games where the ball just, doesn't land at your feet as often. And I think bringing Foden into the middle of the park probably helped his game, giving him someone to play off, a springboard to bounce some passes off. But 59 touches, 92.5% passing accuracy, so his distribution was decent. Got himself a key pass, I think we all know which one that was. That was for the opening goal, slotting it down the channel between Tete and Diop for Haaland to fill that gap. Haaland's shot/cross, I don't know whether let's give Haaland the benefit of the doubt and give him the assist that let's say he meant that, because it did look like he was trying to shoot, but it cut it back to Alvarez for an easy tap in, and that key pass to Haaland came from Kovacic, and that's the one you can see there. 1 tackle, 1 interception and 1 clearance. The rest was zeros for him, and that's why I've swapped his defensive stats there, because he did more defensively than he did offensively yesterday. Same for dribbles. Again, we were seeing 2s and 3 successful dribbles in previous games. 0 yesterday. So I've given him a 7. I think that's fair. Rodri, I think his first half performance was one of his sloppiest. I think he was giving the ball away two in particular, in fact. There was on the edge of the area where he gave the ball away, and thankfully I think it was Diaz who stepped in to mop up after a little sloppy ball. He tried to link up with Kyle Walker right by our defensive corner flag in Kyle Walker's corner of the pitch. He gave the ball away again, and it was like, oh, they've got a chance. That when you give the ball away in the offensive side of things, and he gave the ball away to Kovacic as well in the first half as well. But that was a nice attempt. I'll always applaud a player at least trying the right thing. Even if it doesn't come off. But the couple of the passes, you shouldn't be trying that there. You shouldn't even be trying that. And to give it away makes it even worse. But yeah, defensively, good. That's what you guaranteed. And now the standards have gone even higher for Rodri now, because we look at him as right, did he score? And that's not what he's in the team for. Just because he's been scoring goals lately, we shouldn't be marking him down just because he didn't score or get an assist. That's not his game. That's not really what he's in the team for. The fact that he has been doing that lately is just a very, very nice cherry on the cake. It doesn't mean that we should expect that every game now going forward, because I don't think that's what he's in the team to do. Defensively and control-wise, dictating play, nullifying counter-attacks and being the centre of our build-up play. And he did that reasonably well yesterday, in particular in the second half. And defensively got himself a tackle and an interception, 2 clearances, and he beat a player. So not bad. I've given him a 7, though, because of that first half performance, really bringing down his overall game. And he only played 75 minutes as well, so he's brought off, presumably for fitness reasons. Phil Foden, I thought he was really good. I thought he was good, considering his position in the first half was out on the right wing. Mostly, I think Doku started there, but after about 10 minutes, they swapped. I thought Foden was good. He was the most creative and the most easy on the eye. When we were going forward in the first half, everything seemed to come through Phil Foden. Anything that looked like a threat was going to come through Phil Foden. Got himself 55 touches. He was brought off on the 89th minute. 82.5% passing accuracy. Could do with that being a little bit higher, but not bad. 1 key pass. Got himself a tackle. No shots, none on target, and 2 dribbles. There was the one standout moment for me. I remember his movement for Rodri, knocking it back post, and then he cushioned the ball right across the face of goal. Normally you think Haaland's going to be in there waiting to gobble that up, and he wasn't. Haaland switched off for a little moment, and it could have been an assist for Phil Foden, another assist. So I think he was good. I've given him a 7.5. Doku's an interesting one because I think what we weren't really expecting was to see how strong he is and defensively minded he can be, which those of you that laughed at me saying that he could play right wing back, and you know who you are, you were coming at me in the comments, weren't you, suggesting that there's no way Kyle Walker could play right wing back. Hey, I'm sorry, but defensively, look at that. 3 tackles there. You know, that's up there with the Ruben Diaz. Ruben Diaz only had 4. He had 3 tackles, 2 interceptions as well. I think we saw what we want to see from Doku, that explosive injection of pace past players. That we saw that on both wings. He beat a player on one side of the pitch, that's the number 1 dribble, and then he went onto the other side against Tete and beat him down the left side and whipped in across left-footed as well, using his weaker foot to get it in as well. Phil Foden at the back post couldn't make the most of that cross. But yeah, I think it was a solid performance. A couple of moments he gave the ball away, he looked a little bit nervous here and there. 82% passing accuracy is a reflection of those nerves, I think, but I think overall a solid debut. And what excites me is those interceptions and tackles. The fact that he's like a brick shithouse, isn't he? You're not getting past him. Like solid, like physically solid, big unit. Well, not big, but big unit, wide, stocky lad. So good, solid debut. I've given him a 7, which I think is reasonable. Same for Alvarez. I think he was really good. I think his involvement, I think the fact that he got himself a goal and an assist, just a live wire, and his ability to link up with Erling Haaland now is becoming more and more, evident. It's working. It's starting to work. I've seen a lot of people saying it isn't working, but the numbers aren't lying. The results aren't lying. The fact that he's getting goals, Haaland's getting goals, he's getting assists, Haaland's getting assists now. When we're winning games, we've won 4 out of 4 with Alvarez playing behind Haaland. So it's working. It's clearly working. 89 minutes to his name, 48 touches. Passing accuracy, he was sloppy. That's not great, that. He's lucky to keep that in the 80s. 0 key passes, 1 tackle, 2 shots, 1 on target, and he beat a player as well. But don't forget, he scored a nice goal with a bit of a tap-in, obviously, but he got himself an assist with the penalty as well. He also tucked one really nicely. The intent was there. Ream did get a touch on that for Haaland's second goal. The one-on-one on the edge of the area. Haaland's first goal, to make it 3-1. Edge of the area. He was a little round-the-corner pass. I think Haaland would have had a harder job to do had Ream not got a touch on it, because Ream actually knocked it further into Haaland's path, which made it an even easier finish. But the intention of Alvarez was exactly what we want, exactly the right thing to do. Sharp, number 10 play, that was. Really instinctual, receiving the ball, first time pass, round the corner, into the path of Haaland. Deserved an assist. So I've given him an 8. I think Alvarez is the fact that he got himself a goal and assists, deservedly so. Good play. Haaland, okay, let's straight at the score. You ain't going to get 10 off me. You're going to have to do something ridiculous to get a 10. I don't care if you score a hat-trick. I think you have to do more. For me, 10 is perfect. You might not want to hear it, but 10 is perfect. And Haaland wasn't perfect. And I want to give 10 to someone who, the most ridiculous performance ever. I'm going to save my 10s for people who really deserve a 10, because if I give Haaland a hat-trick, a 10 for getting a hat-trick, I'm going to be giving 10s out quite frequently. I could give 4 or 5 out this season to Erling Haaland. And just goals isn't enough to get a 10 for me. Not enough. But a 9.5, deservedly so. Fantastic man of the match performance. So clinical, just brutal finishing in front of goal. He had an XG of like 1.5. Half the amount of goals he's got. He got 7. No one's counting his touches anymore, are they? They've given up that. The pundits have given up counting his touches because it's pointless. 17 touches. Who cares? He scored 3 goals. Who cares? That's the problem for me. The last 2 games he had 50s, in the 50s for passing accuracy. This game, good. He's improved. Still not good enough for top level. We shouldn't be getting 66.7%. I want to see that get higher. We shouldn't be giving the ball away as much as that. But the rest just speaks for itself, doesn't it? 2 key passes, 2 clearances. He got himself an assist, of course. Shots 4, 3 on target, 3 goals. and 0 dribbles as well. And those key passes as well was a moment when he was in Alvarez's role, really, and he actually sent Alvarez through on goal, and Diop blocked Alvarez's shot. Could have got himself another assist. Really good performance. So 9.5 man of the match performance from Erling Haaland. Then we on to the substitutes, which I think was really good to see. I think we saw a lot of control added to the game. Bright sparks coming off Oscar Bob in particular, but starting with Bernardo Silva, who probably had the least impact out of all the substitutes in terms of like standout moments, anything, because there's he only played 15 minutes, was actually the most minutes out of all the substitutes. 23 touches, 95.5% passing accuracy, but zeros in everything else. There was zeros in all of his games. So I can only really give him a 6.5 because he didn't do anything on the pitch. He just kept things ticking. Passing accuracy was good. 23 touches out of the to make that 95.5%. So, yeah, good. Didn't come on and do anything amazing. Didn't do anything wrong. So 6.5. Oscar Bob, I've given him a 6.5, but there was a moment in his small little cameo. I've given him 1 minute there. That's none of the minutes include extra time because I'm not working out how many bloody seconds they're on the pitch. It's out of 90, so he came on in the 89th minute, giving him a minute. 6 touches. How can you affect the game that much with 6 touches, and how can I give you a score bigger than 6.5? But there was that moment where the dribble, there was a 4-on-2 scenario in the counter-attack that he didn't make the most of, but what he did do is keep the ball. He got himself into the area. He had to do a 360 spin. He could have found someone in that situation. I think that's something in the training ground to actually see the pass, play the pass, He hesitated, but he kept the ball. That's the one thing you want to highlight, is he keeping the ball. Even though you didn't go for the killer pass, you played it safe and you kept the ball. Fair enough. But there was a moment where he did beat his player, and that was actually the start of the move for our 5th goal, which ended up working its way to Rico Lewis and then Sergio Gomez, and then Gomez assist to Haaland. That all came from a nice dribble in the middle of the park from Oscar Bob. So I've given him a 6.5 again from the very little impact he could possibly have. But he stood out a little bit. Sergio Gomez, I think he was good. Same again. He had 15 minutes to show what he was all about. He only had 13 touches, 90% passing accuracy, 1 key pass. That's not the assist as well. So he did send someone through for a possible opportunity. No tackles, no shots, none on target, but 2 dribbles as well, which is really good. One of those dribbles that equated to the assist that we saw. Really good play. And that link-up play with Rico Lewis, good. On that left-hand side. And now I think we've established we have a 5th potential winger. He can't defend. He cannot defend. I don't ever want to see him play left-back again. Left wing coming on for the likes of Grealish or Doku and those particular situations. Last 15 minutes of the game like this, I'm more than comfortable him coming on, especially if we're winning, And there you go, that little flash, little moment of quality down that left side, beats his player, whips it in. And that was not an easy pass to Erling Haaland. Haaland's run made it easier for him because the intuitive run of Haaland to cut it back and make that angle. But it was there was a cluster of Fulham players with a thin little avenue to slide that pass to Erling Haaland and to put it right on a plate for him. And Haaland buried it. Really good from Sergio Gomez. And considering he's got off to a little bit of a rough start at City, I think would like to do a bit better, offer a little bit more going forward. I've given him a 7. Rico Lewis, same as Oscar Bob, really, had very little chance. He came on with him during that 89th minute, 5 touches, 100% passing accuracy, that's good. Kept the ball really well. Like I said, he had that nice link-up play with Sergio Gomez, which created the 5th goal. I've given him a 6.5, which I think is fair considering the amount of time he had on the pitch. Calvin Phillips, good. I was pleased to see him come on. He's our player now, so get behind him. I know a lot of you have said get him out of the club, which is a joke, to be honest, considering you've seen, 600, 700 minutes of him now in a City shirt. I don't know how you can judge him on such little time. I don't know how you can do that, and no one can. If you are making your mind up on that, then you don't know ball, do you? You don't know ball, honestly. You don't understand how much you need to give players time and chances and opportunities and minutes. He's not getting them. But yesterday he came on, got himself 7 minutes under his belt, 16 touches, 100% passing accuracy, and they weren't simple passes. Some of these were little dinky balls over to Kyle Walker, lofted passes, a couple of a nice tackle as well. He got himself. He beat a player on the halfway line. I remember that against Harrison Reed, bursting past him like he wasn't there. I've given him a 7. There's a little bit of a 0.5 sympathy there because I'm hoping he can show what he's worth. And adding Calvin Phillips to our midfield as a good player with a positive mindset, and let's think of him positively now, if we can do that, Blues, then maybe we've got another midfielder that can back up to Rodri. Then good. That's good. We need depth, you know. We need depth. Going through the season, we're going to need it. So I've given him a 7. But Blues, that's the end of the player ratings. What do you think? What are your player ratings? Do you disagree with any of them? Do you think any of them are too harsh? Any of them are too generous? I want to hear your thoughts. Get them in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Typical City is the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now, holding up Silverwood.